other things that weren't ideal. A lot of people have been talking about the officiating in that game, and I personally don't feel like the officiating was the biggest factor, but it was a factor in it. Especially the PI and that last minute on Tyrann Matthews on Mike Evans. And Brady pretty much just threw a Hail Mary that was nowhere near Mike Evans. Like, it was like 10
Yeah,
feet above his head.
it wasn't even catchable.
Yeah, it was targeted to the stands, and they called that PI, which put him on the goal line. I thought that pretty much sealed the game.
Yeah.
Going into halftime, 17-3 would have been a lot different from 21-3. And like I said earlier, they, I mean, for one, which kind of ruined the game a bit for me. And I mean, it is what it is, but the Chiefs' O line was destroyed
Oh yeah.
and it was just ravaged by those injuries. There was no chance for Mahomes to do anything in the pocket, and to be down 21-3, all the Bucks had to do was send four and play coverage, and they were getting to Mahomes like nothing. And once the D line can just pin their ears back and not worry about the run,
Yeah.
that's a wrap. It was over as soon as that happened. I was just watching because I was hoping Patrick Mahomes could figure, like, I was hoping some magic would happen and make it interesting, but it was hopeless from that point on.
Yeah, no, that was I at halftime I had an issue with the referees because I it just, I don't know. It always feels like Tom Brady's teams are getting a little bit of extra help that they don't need. But then like after you watch the rest of the game unfold, it's like, oh yeah, no, this it didn't matter.
Yeah.
Like
The
it
Chiefs just weren't defensively, they weren't ready for it. Like,
yeah, no, I think that's the bigger story is like the Chiefs defense was awful in that game.
give
Like
Tom Brady all the credit in the world. I think this is like one of the few games this season where he put it together from start to finish. He was absolutely lights out all season, all game long, and which is what was needed for them to pull this out. But
yeah, he I think he did like the expert game manager thing. Like he never really put the Bucks in any danger with any of his throws. Like he did the correct thing every single down. I think Fournette was the real game breaker
oh, he
because
was killing it.
dude, he would the Chiefs would put a body on him on the line and he would just bounce it outside and pick up 9 or 10
Yeah.
like every time he had the ball.
What did he say
Uh,
on Twitter? He's a MF Super Bowl Lenny.
yeah, dude. Like it's just it was uh yeah, the Chiefs just got whipped, man. Andy Reid showed his face again. Mahomes Mahomes was out there doing everything he could.
Everything
The
he could. Like,
Chiefs receivers in general had probably the worst game I've ever seen them have as a
didn't
team.
yeah did not show up.
Uh, but it was just I don't know. Ultimately, I think it's going to be a forgettable game, and it'll be that thing where it's like, yeah, remember when Tom Brady won a Super Bowl with the Buccaneers? And you'll be like, oh, that's right, he did.
Yeah, when it's all 10 years from now.
Yeah, and I mean, I get I would be remiss to not mention how good the Bucks defense played. Uh, and I mean, in a real MVP type vote, it would have been like split between Devin White and like Antoine Winfield Jr. or something like that.
Hmm.
But I don't have any issues with Tom Brady winning the MVP. It's like LeBron. If the team LeBron's on wins the finals, he's going to be the MVP, and it's the same thing with Tom Brady.
Yeah, that whole defense should have been the MVP, especially that D
Yeah,
line. They were
yeah,
absolutely
like every
dominating
single
them.
play.
And I
I
mean,
think I think Mahomes was pressured on like 52% of his dropbacks or something like that. Like,
dude, he ran for 400 yards before he let the ball go. Fam was literally playing with like
uh,
260 overall linemen in the starting, and then as soon as he hiked it, bro had to like run backwards and try to survey the defense with the back of his head. Like, it was ridiculous. That I felt bad for him. He but I gained more respect for him out of that game. Like, I thought he was even his profile got bigger to me after watching that game. The throws that he was making under that sort of pressure and his receivers weren't giving him anything to help.
yeah.
You know, there were a few that went right off of receiver's face mask after he just juked 5 defenders, spun around and put on a Superman cape and flew 5 feet parallel to the ground and threw it. Like, it was ridiculous. He was as lights out as you can be in a bad performance.
Yeah.
It was, yeah. Then we got one of the most. I think we have a. I think the most iconic image of that entire Super Bowl is him literally parallel to the ground throwing a pass, which ended up off of a teammate's face mask.
It's either that or Antoine Winfield Jr. giving Tyreek Hill the deuces. I lean that just because it's so funny and so many people like got it their panties in a bunch about it.
Oh, who
And I'm just
cares?
like, yeah, no, like if Tyreek Hill had beaten him deep on a touchdown,
He would have done the
he would have
same
done the
thing.
same exact thing.
Yeah,
So, yeah, I really don't care. I Winfield Jr.'s he's a beast, man.
yeah. Um, I'm glad that we took a few days before we did this show because if we had done this on Sunday night, I would have just been so angry. You know, like all I felt
Uh,
was anger, and not because the Bucks won, not because Tom Brady got his 7th ring, but just because I just felt robbed. I felt robbed of the game that we were supposed to get.
yeah, no, it was a bad game. It was
I,
bad.
the Chiefs
It wasn't good.
the Chiefs lack of preparation. They knew the O line was bad, and to come in there with the arrogance like these backups are gonna just do the same thing that their starting O line was gonna do was ridiculous. Like I don't
Eh,
think I saw
yeah,
any extra protections for Mahomes.
no.
Like they should have came out in that and left the defense unbalanced, but the Bucks knew exactly what the Chiefs were going to try to do, and the Chiefs were like, "Look, we're going to do what we've always done regardless of this situation." And the Bucks knew that, and it just played into their
And
hands.
I think the Chiefs expected Todd Bowles to like play his same game plan, and he didn't, and they did not adjust. It was just a bad bad preparation, bad everything from Kansas City. Shame on them.
Yeah. And
Bad job by you.
it takes nothing away from the Bucks or Tom or anything. Like they played an amazing game. They did what they had to do in the situation. You know, you don't expect someone to play down to the competition just cuz they're hurt. You know what I mean? Like that's you're not going to do that. So
Yeah.
they did what they had to do. Todd Bowles had an amazing game plan to take advantage of that, and you know it showed.
Unpopular opinion, unpopular opinion, unpopular opinion, unpopular opinion, unpopular